Ethan lived a quiet life on the human colony of Nova Orion, a small planet orbiting a distant star. His days were filled with machines, gadgets, and experiments. While others went out to trade or explore, he preferred to stay in his room, tinkering with inventions that often made strange noises or occasionally sparked little flashes of light. His friends called him a dreamer, and he didn't mind. Dreams, he believed, could take you to places no starship ever could. One evening, as the twin suns of Nova Orion dipped below the horizon, casting orange and violet shades across the sky, Ethan was adjusting the power settings on his latest creation, a small drone capable of mapping underground tunnels, when he noticed something unusual. A strange, soft light shimmered in the corner of his room. At first, he thought it was a reflection from his instruments, but then the light grew brighter, and a ripple like the surface of a pond disturbed by a pebble appeared in midair. Ethan froze, his hands hovering over the drone. The ripple formed into a glowing portal, and from it stepped a figure. She stumbled slightly as she came through, her legs supported by mechanical braces that made soft whirring sounds. Her eyes were wide, reflecting a mixture of fear and awe. She wore a flowing robe that shimmered like liquid silver, and around her neck was a delicate chain holding a small, glowing emblem, clearly a symbol of royalty. Ethan's heart raced. Hello?" he said cautiously, not knowing whether to greet her or run. The figure looked up, startled, and whispered in a melodic voice, I didn't mean to. Appear here." Her words were accented strange to Ethan's human ears, but he understood her perfectly. You're in my room," Ethan said, taking a careful step forward. "Are you lost?" The figure nodded. "Yes, I am Lyra." She hesitated. "Princess Lyra of Zetheria," Ethan blinked. A princess in his small, dusty room, surrounded by tools and half-finished machines. His mind struggled to process the situation. "You're a royal?" Ethan exclaimed. "Yes," Lyra said softly. She shifted uncomfortably, adjusting her mechanical braces. "But no one wanted to marry me. I was trying to find somewhere safe." Her words trailed off as if speaking them was exhausting. Ethan noticed her eyes, a deep violet color, full of sadness yet carrying a quiet strength. He felt a surge of sympathy. I can help you. You won't get hurt here." Lyra's lips curved into a small, surprised smile. She had expected fear, perhaps mockery, but not this gentle offer from a human she had never met. "Thank you," she said. For the next hour, Ethan offered her water, food, and even a small cot to rest on. She looked around curiously at his inventions, touching the drone carefully, her fingers brushing over its metallic surface with awe. "You humans," she whispered, "your machines. They are simple, yet clever," Ethan chuckled. "Simple? Maybe, but useful." He felt a strange connection with her already. She was far from his world, yet she seemed so real, so vulnerable, yet courageous. Suddenly, a soft humming sound filled the room. Ethan froze. "What's that?" Lyra's eyes widened. They are coming for me. My guards, my people." "Don't worry," Ethan said quickly. He didn't know if he could stop them, but he refused to panic. He guided her to a small storage room at the back of his apartment. "Hide here for now. I'll think of something." Outside, muffled footsteps and mechanical voices approached. The glow from the portal shimmered again, and Ethan realized they were tracking her. His mind raced. How could he, a simple human engineer, protect a princess from another planet? He remembered his latest invention, a portable holographic projector designed for mapping. With a few quick adjustments, he turned it into a decoy device, projecting multiple images of Lyra around the apartment. When the guards entered, they were confused, their sensors picking up several copies of the princess. Ethan held his breath as the guards scanned the room. After tense minutes, they left, muttering to each other in a language Ethan didn't understand. Lyra peeked from behind the storage crate. "You saved me," Ethan smiled. "Humans may not have magic, but we do have brains. And a little luck." Lyra's violet eyes shone. "You treat me differently." "Not like the others," Ethan shrugged. "You're a person, not just a title. That matters to me." For the first time in years, Lyra felt hope. She had been judged by her disability, her mechanical limbs, and her royal status. No one had ever cared about her heart or her courage. Here in this small human's apartment, she felt normal. The rest of the night passed with cautious conversation. Ethan learned about Zetheria, a distant planet with floating cities and advanced technology far beyond Earth's. Lyra told him about her struggles, the nobles who shunned her, the suitors who mocked her, and the feeling of being trapped in a life she hadn't chosen. Ethan listened, fascinated. "But you're still a princess," he said. "You can change things, make them better." Lyra shook her head. "I tried, but no one listens to a disabled princess. They only see my weakness." Ethan's expression hardened. "Maybe. They just haven't met the right human yet." Lyra laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes. "Perhaps, but you are not like them." By morning they had formed a quiet bond. Ethan prepared a small breakfast while Lyra examined his gadgets with curious hands. They didn't speak of the guards yet. For now the small apartment felt like a sanctuary. Then as the twin suns rose higher, the portal shimmered again. Ethan felt a pang of fear. "They'll come back," he said. Lyra nodded. "I must return soon, or they will think I am gone forever." "But," she hesitated, glancing at him, "I want to stay a little longer. With you." Ethan smiled, though worry clouded his mind. "Then stay. For as long as you need, I don't care what anyone else thinks." Lyra's hand brushed his arm, a gesture of trust, and in that moment, both of them understood something important. Despite being from different worlds, despite technology and culture and royalty, they were equals in courage, curiosity, and heart. Outside, the wind of Nova Orion carried the scent of strange flowers and distant oceans. Inside, in a small, cluttered apartment, a human and a princess, an unlikely pair, prepared for the challenges ahead. They didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, Lyra didn't feel alone. And Ethan? Well, he had never felt more alive. And so began an adventure that would cross planets, defy prejudice, and prove that sometimes human qualities, kindness, courage, and intelligence were more powerful than any alien weapon or royal decree. The portal glimmered faintly, a reminder that danger and wonder were never far away. But for now they had a moment of peace, a moment that would shape the destiny of two worlds. The morning light of Nova Orion streamed through the small apartment, illuminating scattered tools, half-finished gadgets, and the glowing remnants of Lyra's portal. Ethan moved carefully around the room, mindful of her mechanical braces. Lyra sat on a small cot, watching him with curiosity, her violet eyes reflecting both wonder and unease. "You have so many machines," she said softly, tilting her head. "How do you understand them all?" Ethan chuckled. "I don't always understand them," he admitted. "Sometimes I just try, and if it breaks, well, I fix it again." Lyra smiled faintly. "On Zytheria, everything is controlled by the mind or the voice. We don't touch things. We command them. I never had the chance to learn hands-on like this." "That's the fun part," Ethan said, offering her a small wrench. "Try it. Even if it's just turning a bolt, it matters." Hesitant at first, Lyra placed her hand on the tool. Her mechanical braces whirred softly, adjusting to her grip. Slowly, carefully, she turned the bolt. A spark of pride crossed her face. I did it." "You did," Ethan said, grinning. "See? Humans have a habit of learning by doing. We get our hands dirty, and that's how we solve problems." For the next hour they worked together, tinkering with the drone. Ethan explained its sensors, its mapping system, and how the small device could explore tunnels far beneath the colony. Lyra asked questions, her curiosity sharp despite her sheltered upbringing. She marveled at the simplicity of the human machines and the clever ways Ethan made them work. You humans are resourceful," she said finally. "Even with less technology, you make things work." Ethan shrugged. "We have to. We don't have floating cities or instant teleportation. We make do with what we have. And sometimes that makes us stronger." Lyra's eyes softened. "Stronger, yes, I wish my people saw it that way." Ethan noticed her voice tremble slightly. "What do you mean?" Lyra sighed. "On Zytheria, a princess is expected to be perfect. Strong, graceful, flawless. But I am not." She gestured to her mechanical braces. "I cannot walk without them. Many see me as weak. No one wants to marry me. Not because of who I am, but because of what I am." Ethan felt a pang of sadness. "That's not fair. You're brave, smart, and kind. Any court should see that." Lyra shook her head. "They see weakness. Only weakness. My mother, my advisors, they tell me to hide, to look perfect, to be someone I am not. And still, they mock me in private. They think a human could never understand me. Ethan's gaze hardened. Maybe they just haven't met the right human yet. Lyra looked at him surprised and a small smile appeared on her lips. Perhaps you are different. As the day passed, Ethan decided to teach her a few simple human skills. Repairing machines, understanding basic electronics, even cooking simple meals. Lyra laughed at her mistakes, spilling ingredients or misaligning wires, but she never gave up. Her determination impressed Ethan more than any noble ceremony ever could. You are very patient, Lyra said after successfully soldering a circuit. Most people would have given up on me. Ethan shrugged. Humans, we try. And sometimes the people worth helping are the hardest to understand. You're worth it, Lyra. The bond between them grew, not just through teaching and learning, but through shared laughter, quiet conversation, and mutual respect. Lyra told him stories of her childhood, of floating palaces and gardens that defied gravity, of festivals filled with light and music. Ethan shared tales of Nova Orion's harsh deserts, icy mountains, and the tunnels he explored for fun. They marveled at their differences, but also at the similarities: curiosity, courage, and the desire to be understood. But as the sun set, casting long shadows across the apartment, the danger returned. A faint hum resonated through the building, and Ethan's small sensors picked up unusual energy readings. They're here, Lyra whispered, rising to her feet, her braces adjusted with soft mechanical whirs. Ethan grabbed her hand. Don't worry, we can handle this. Outside, the Zetherian royal guards had arrived, their tall, armored forms moving with precision. They were advanced, humanoid yet slightly alien, with glowing eyes and energy weapons at their sides. Their leader, a stern figure in ceremonial armor, spoke into a communicator. Ethan couldn't understand the words, but the tone was sharp and commanding. Hide, Ethan said, pulling Lyra toward the storage room again. Follow my lead. Using the holographic projector from the previous night, Ethan created multiple decoys of Lyra around the apartment. The guards entered cautiously, scanning the room. Their sensors picked up several images of the princess, all identical, all moving slightly as Ethan adjusted the projector. Which one is real? One guard murmured, frustration evident in his alien voice. Ethan held his breath, guiding Lyra silently. Almost there. After tense minutes, the guards retreated, muttering orders in their language. Ethan let out a relieved sigh. Lyra hugged him briefly, her small gesture full of gratitude. You saved me again, she said. Ethan smiled, brushing a strand of her silver hair behind her ear. Humans, we like to solve problems, especially when it matters. Lyra studied him, her eyes softening. You see me as I am, not what they want me to be. That's what matters, Ethan said. Not titles. Not appearances, just people being real. For the next several days, Lyra stayed with Ethan, learning more about human life. She explored the colony markets with him, fascinated by the diversity of people, foods, and technology. Unlike Zetheria, where everything was controlled and predictable, humans lived with imperfection, chaos, and freedom. Lyra found it exhilarating. One evening, while they were repairing a small rover, Lyra paused. Ethan, do you fear the guards coming back? Ethan considered this. I'm not afraid of them. Not really. They're strong, yes, but they think in rules and orders. Humans, we think differently. We improvise. And together, he looked at her, we can handle almost anything. Lyra nodded, a small smile on her face. Together. Despite their growing connection, Ethan knew that Lyra could not stay hidden forever. The portal that had brought her here remained unstable, and the Zetherian guards would not give up so easily. Yet for the first time, Lyra felt a sense of hope, a feeling she had not experienced in years. She had a human who saw her as more than a princess, more than her disability. She had someone who valued her courage, intelligence, and heart. And Ethan, too, felt a strange sense of purpose. He had always dreamed of adventure, but never imagined it would arrive in the form of a violet-eyed alien princess stumbling into his room. He realized that sometimes the greatest discoveries were not machines or inventions, but people and the bonds we form with them. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon once more, Lyra and Ethan sat side by side, watching the sky glow in shades of orange and purple. The portal shimmered faintly, a reminder that danger could arrive at any moment. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. Ethan reached out, brushing her hand. We'll face whatever comes next, he said softly. Lyra squeezed his hand. Yes, together. And in that small apartment on a distant human colony, two worlds began to connect, not through power, or technology or titles, but through trust, courage, and the simple human ability to care. For Lyra, it was the first time she felt truly alive. For Ethan, it was the beginning of an adventure he had never imagined. And for both of them, the universe suddenly seemed full of possibilities. The portal shimmered again in Ethan's apartment, its soft glow reflecting off Lyra's silver robe. She had made a decision. Ethan, she said, her voice steady despite the nervousness in her eyes, if we are to face this, I must return home. To Zytheria. You will come with me. Ethan hesitated. Zytheria was distant, unfamiliar, and dangerous. But looking into her violet eyes, he saw determination and trust. I will come, he said. I don't know what awaits us, but we face it together. With a soft hum, the portal expanded and the two stepped through. The world on the other side was breathtaking. Cities floated among clouds. Buildings of gleaming crystal and silver stretched high, and airships moved gracefully between towers. It was far beyond anything Ethan had ever imagined. Yet despite its beauty, attention lingered. As soon as they arrived, royal guards in shining armor approached. Lyra's expression stiffened and she whispered, The court, they do not welcome outsiders easily, especially humans. Ethan noticed the judgmental glances from the nobles who had gathered. Many wore flowing garments studded with precious stones, their expressions cold, their eyes scrutinizing him with thinly veiled disdain. Some even whispered among themselves, gesturing at Lyra's braces. Lyra sighed. They expected someone. Perfect, strong, flawless, like the rest of Zytheria. They never imagined a human would come for me. And worse, they will think you are unworthy. Ethan squared his shoulders. I'm not here to impress them. I'm here for you. Lyra gave him a small, nervous smile, and together they approached the grand hall of the palace. Its walls shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting every movement, every expression. The air hummed with energy, a subtle force that Ethan realized came from Zytherian technology woven into the very structure. The court convened in a grand chamber, filled with holographic displays, floating platforms, and ceremonial statues. At the head of the room sat the High Chancellor, a stern figure with eyes like molten gold. His gaze swept over Ethan, lingering with unmistakable doubt. You are human, the High Chancellor said, his voice echoing. Why do you come here? Ethan stepped forward. I came because I care for Princess Lyra. Not because of her title, not for power, but because of who she is. And I will face whatever challenges the court gives me. A murmur spread through the nobles. Some laughed quietly, while others exchanged skeptical glances. A young noble with sharp features stepped forward. Humans are weak, clumsy. They cannot meet the standards of Zytheria. You will fail, outsider. Ethan did not flinch. I may not be like you, but humans have creativity, determination, and courage. I can solve problems differently than you do, and sometimes that is worth more than strength alone. Lyra's hand brushed against his arm, a gesture of reassurance. The princess's belief in him gave him confidence. The High Chancellor raised his hand. Very well. If you wish to prove yourself, you must pass the courtship challenges. Physical tests, logic puzzles, and social trials. Only then will the court accept you as worthy of Princess Lyra's trust. Ethan nodded, ready for anything. The first challenge was physical agility, designed to humiliate outsiders. A series of floating platforms hovered above a deep chamber, requiring balance and precision. Humans, the court believed, would be unsteady. Ethan studied the platforms. His body was not Zytherian strong, but he had reflexes and ingenuity. He used a small tool from his pocket, a retractable grappling hook of his own design, to stabilize himself. Step by careful step, he crossed the platforms, drawing on human problem-solving instead of brute strength. Lyra watched, her eyes wide. You are clever. He reached the other side, slightly out of breath but triumphant. The nobles murmured, some in shock, others grudgingly impressed. Next was a logic puzzle, a Zytherian tradition to test intelligence. A holographic matrix of shifting symbols appeared, glowing with energy. Ethan examined the patterns. He had never seen anything like it, but he noticed subtle irregularities. Using observation and deduction, he manipulated the symbols to align correctly, unlocking the sequence. The chamber hummed with energy as the puzzle completed. A few nobles whispered. Perhaps the human is not as weak as we thought. Finally came the social trial, a test of etiquette, diplomacy, and composure. Ethan had to navigate the complex customs of Zetherian courtship, responding to questions and gestures that seemed alien and intricate. He watched carefully, listened closely, and chose honesty over pretense. One noble sneered, attempting to trap him with a tricky question about honor codes. Ethan paused, then answered truthfully, showing empathy and understanding rather than trying to deceive or impress. Lyra's hand squeezed his in support, and he felt strength from her belief in him. By the end of the day, Ethan had passed all 3 trials, not by mimicking Zetherians, but by being human. His courage, ingenuity, and honesty had earned him the grudging respect of the court. Some nobles still whispered, but the perception of humans began to shift. Lyra's smile was radiant. You did it. You faced their tests, and succeeded. Ethan shrugged modestly. We humans have ways of solving problems they don't expect, and sometimes the heart matters more than perfection. But the court was not entirely pleased. A jealous noble named Kale, whose family had long sought to control the princess's marriage, glared at Ethan. This human has no right to be here. He is an outsider. He will fail eventually. Mark my words, Lyra's expression hardened. You will not touch him, Kale. He is not just anyone. He is someone who sees me for who I am. Kale sneered. We shall see, princess. We shall see. Ethan and Lyra left the chamber together, their hands brushing lightly. The palace garden stretched out before them with floating trees and glowing flowers. Lyra took a deep breath. You handled yourself well. I am proud of you, Ethan smiled. I'm proud of you too. You trusted me. As the sun set over Zytheria, casting golden light across the floating city, Ethan realized something important. The court had its rules, its prejudices, and its expectations. But humans, through courage, creativity, and compassion, could challenge even the most rigid traditions. Lyra looked at him, her eyes filled with hope. Perhaps humans are stronger than we realized. Ethan laughed softly. Maybe we are. But strength isn't just about muscles or rules. It's about heart, courage, and the willingness to try. That night, as they sat on a balcony overlooking the glowing city, Ethan and Lyra planned for the next day. Challenges awaited, schemes would unfold, and Kale would try to undermine them. But together they had already proven something. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and capable of achieving the impossible. And Zytheria, with all its rigid rules and expectations, would soon learn that a human's courage and honesty could shake even the most established traditions. As stars twinkled in the alien sky, Ethan felt a strange sense of belonging. He was a human in a foreign world, far from home, yet he had found purpose, trust, and perhaps even friendship that could grow into something more. For Lyra, the court had once been a place of judgment and fear. Now, with Ethan by her side, it became a place of possibility, a stage where she could finally be herself, and where a human's heart might just change everything. The adventure was only beginning. The courtship challenges were not over, and Kale's schemes were far from complete. But one thing was certain. Together, Ethan and Lyra could face whatever trials the universe threw at them. And in doing so, they would show that sometimes human qualities, courage, ingenuity, and empathy, were the greatest powers of all. The Palace of Zytheria, with its floating towers and glowing gardens, seemed peaceful as the suns rose. But beneath its shining beauty, tension brewed. Ethan and Lyra walked carefully through the corridors, aware of the jealous eyes that followed them. Kale, the noble who had tried to undermine Ethan during the courtship challenges, had not forgotten the human's success. Ethan, Lyra whispered, her hand brushing his arm. Kale, he will try something. I can feel it. He cannot accept that a human has proven himself. Ethan nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. We'll be ready. Humans are good at thinking differently. Maybe that's exactly what he won't expect. That evening, the palace hosts a grand gala, a celebration meant to honor the princess and her potential suitors. But Kale had other plans. Behind the polished smiles and floating lights, he had enlisted a group of rogue Zytherian technicians to sabotage the palace's energy systems. If successful, the gala would descend into chaos, and Ethan would be blamed for failure. As the gala began, Ethan noticed subtle signs of trouble, flickering lights, Unusual hums from the palace energy grid and the quiet movements of unfamiliar figures. He leaned closer to Lyra. Something is wrong. Kale is planning something. Lyra's violet eyes narrowed. I knew it. We must stop him before anyone gets hurt. Ethan quickly assessed the situation. The palace energy grid was complex, powered by levitating crystals and advanced Zetherian technology. For a human, it seemed impossible to repair. But Ethan saw patterns. Using his understanding of machines, he could create a temporary stabilizer with a few spare tools and crystals from his belt. We need to move quickly, Ethan whispered. Follow me. They slipped away from the gala unnoticed by most guests. In a maintenance corridor, Ethan began connecting his stabilizer device to the palace's energy conduits. Sparks flew and soft alarms rang, but he worked with calm determination. Lyra assisted him, adjusting wires and repositioning crystals with her mechanical braces. Outside, Kale watched from a balcony, his expression dark with frustration. The human. He cannot succeed, he muttered, but Ethan was determined. Humans had a unique way of solving problems. He noticed a feedback loop in the energy grid, a small flaw that the Zetherians had overlooked. Using his stabilizer, he rerouted power, compensating for the sabotage. The hum of the palace began to smooth. The flickering lights steadied and energy flowed correctly once again. Lyra smiled. Ethan, you did it. Ethan glanced at her, a little exhausted but proud. We did it, together. The gala, unaware of the danger averted, continued smoothly. Guests marveled at the stability of the palace, unaware that disaster had been narrowly avoided. Kale, however, fumed. His plan had failed, and a human, not a noble, had saved the day. Later, in a private audience with the High Chancellor, Ethan explained what had happened, demonstrating how he had detected and corrected the sabotage. The Chancellor, a figure who had doubted him from the beginning, nodded slowly, impressed. You humans, the Chancellor said, have qualities unlike any Zetherian. Your ingenuity, courage, and calm under pressure. It is remarkable. Perhaps we underestimated your worth. Lyra's hand brushed Ethan's arm again, her eyes shining with pride. See, I told you. Humans are different, strong in ways they do not expect. Kale, overhearing the conversation from a nearby balcony, clenched his fists. This is not over, he hissed. No human can take what is rightfully mine. The following days were tense. Kale attempted to spread rumors claiming Ethan was a spy or an imposter. But the princess and a growing number of nobles who had witnessed Ethan's courage stood firm. They defended him, showing that actions mattered more than words. Ethan and Lyra spent long hours together, exploring the palace and preparing for future challenges. He taught her more human techniques for problem-solving, showing her how to think creatively rather than rely solely on tradition. She, in turn, shared her knowledge of Zetherian technology and culture, giving him insights that helped him navigate the court more effectively. One evening, as the sun set and the palace glowed with golden light, Lyra spoke quietly. Ethan, you are not just a visitor. You are part of this world now. You understand things about my people that no outsider could. Ethan smiled. And you understand that humans are not weak. We may be different, but we have our own strengths. Together, we can face anything. Their moment of quiet was interrupted by a sudden alarm. A section of the palace near the energy hub had been tampered with again. Ethan's heart raced. Kale's followers were trying another sabotage, more dangerous this time. Come on, Ethan said, taking Lyra's hand. We have to stop this. They ran through the corridors, following the signs of disruption. Sparks flew from damaged conduits and soft alarms echoed. Using his human ingenuity, Ethan quickly created makeshift stabilizers and rerouted power, while Lyra assisted, adjusting the delicate Zetherian technology with precision. Finally, they confronted Kale and his accomplices in a maintenance chamber. The rogue technicians tried to resist, but Lyra's authority and Ethan's calm courage overwhelmed them. With clever use of human tools and Zetherian devices, they secured the area and prevented any further damage. Kale, furious and humiliated, was forced to retreat. The palace's security reported the incident to the High Chancellor, who commended Ethan and Lyra for their quick thinking and bravery. You have proven that humans can be more than we imagined, the Chancellor said. Your courage, cooperation, and intelligence have saved the palace and the princess. Perhaps there is more to your species than we knew. Lyra looked at Ethan, her violet eyes shining. You did not just protect me. You protected all of Zetheria. Ethan shook his head. We did it together. Humans are clever, yes, but teamwork. That is what matters most. You trusted me, and I trusted you. In the following days, the court began to change. Nobles who had doubted Ethan now treated him with respect. And even Kale's allies began to see that humans were different from Zetherians. Not weaker, not flawed, but unique in their courage, creativity, and morality. Ethan and Lyra continued to work together, preparing for the next phase of their journey, proving that their bond and their combined strengths could overcome not just prejudice, but larger threats to both Zetheria and the human colony. As night fell, they stood on a balcony overlooking the floating city. The stars sparkled in the sky above, and the palace glowed beneath them. Ethan placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. No matter what comes next, he said, we face it together. Lyra nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. Together. And for the first time in her life, Lyra felt truly understood, not as a princess, not as a disabled noble, but as someone brave, capable, and deserving of respect. And Ethan, far from home on an alien world, felt the pride of a human who could stand tall among the stars, showing that human qualities could inspire change even in the most rigid of alien societies. The adventure was far from over. Kale would not give up, and new challenges awaited. But one truth had become clear: humans, with their courage, ingenuity, and heart, were a force that no court, no tradition, and no prejudice could ignore. Together, Ethan and Lyra had proven that even in a world of floating cities and advanced technology, the power of trust, friendship, and human ingenuity could overcome any obstacle. The palace of Zetheria glimmered under twin suns, its floating towers casting long shadows across the clouds. But beneath the calm exterior, danger still lingered. Kyle, furious over his previous failures, had been plotting his revenge. He was determined to prove that no human could be worthy of Princess Lyra. Ethan and Lyra, however, were ready. They had spent days preparing for any challenge Kale might create. Ethan had learned more about Zetherian technology. Lyra had gained confidence in human strategies, and together, they had formed a partnership that combined the best of both worlds. Late one night, as the palace slept, alarms blared through the halls. Lights flickered and a deep hum resonated from the central energy grid. Ethan's heart raced. Lyra, it's happening. Kale is trying something again. Lyra nodded, her violet eyes shining with determination. We can stop him. Together. They rushed to the central hub of the palace, where Kale and his accomplices were attempting to hack the energy core, a delicate network that controlled the palace's floating systems. Sparks flew and panels glowed red with warnings. The situation was dangerous. One wrong move could destroy the palace and harm everyone inside. Ethan quickly assessed the system. We need to stabilize the grid and isolate the hack. Lyra, can you help me redirect the power? Lyra nodded, using her mechanical braces to reach panels that were high above the ground. She adjusted delicate circuits while Ethan connected his stabilizer devices. His human tools, combined with her Zetherian knowledge, created a system neither could have managed alone. Kale sneered, watching from a control console. You humans think you can solve everything with cleverness? You will fail. Ethan didn't answer. He focused on the problem. Humans were clever at seeing solutions others overlooked. He noticed a pattern in Kale's hacking. Repetitive, predictable, arrogant. Using a combination of human improvisation and Zetherian technology, he rerouted the energy, countering the sabotage. Lyra worked beside him, her hands moving with precision. Almost there. Just a little more, she whispered. With a final adjustment, the palace's energy grid stabilized. Lights returned to their normal glow. The hum faded and the floating towers steadied. Kale's plan had failed once again. Furious, Kale tried to escape. But the palace security, now fully loyal to the princess and impressed by Ethan's courage, intercepted him. The rogue technicians were taken into custody, and peace returned to the palace. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, catching their breath. We did it, Ethan said, smiling. Lyra looked at him with admiration. You not only helped me, you saved Zetheria. Humans truly have strength beyond what we imagined. The following day, the High Chancellor convened the court. Nobles gathered, their expressions a mixture of respect and reluctant acceptance. Kale was stripped of his privileges and his schemes were exposed. Ethan of Earth, the High Chancellor said, his golden eyes thoughtful, You have shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty beyond expectation. You have proven that humans are not merely outsiders but allies, capable of greatness. A murmur of agreement ran through the court. Even the skeptical nobles could not deny the truth. Ethan's actions had changed perceptions. Humans were now seen as equals in courage and intellect, worthy of respect and cooperation. Lyra stepped forward, her hand brushing Ethan's. "I choose him," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "Not because of his strength or title, but because he values me for who I am. He treats me as an equal. He is my partner, and together we will face the future." Gasps echoed through the chamber. A human chosen by a princess? Some nobles frowned, but others nodded, finally recognizing the value of qualities they had long overlooked: empathy, courage, and ingenuity. Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. I accept," he said simply. "Not for titles or power, but because I care for Lyra and want to face the future with her." The court erupted in applause, not just for the choice, but for what it represented. A new era where strength was measured not by appearance, status, or tradition, but by courage, intelligence, and moral character. In the days that followed, preparations began for a formal alliance between Zytheria and the human colony of Nova Orion. Humans would bring their ingenuity, adaptability, and unique perspective, while Zytherians offered advanced technology and knowledge of the stars. Together, the two worlds would form a partnership that could face any challenge. Ethan and Lyra worked closely on these plans. They visited laboratories, oversaw energy systems, and trained teams in combined human and Zytherian methods. Everywhere they went, they demonstrated that cooperation between different worlds could achieve remarkable results. One evening, standing on a balcony above the floating city, Lyra turned to Ethan. "I never thought a human could understand my world. But you see it differently. You see me differently, and that makes all the difference," Ethan smiled, taking her hand. "Humans may be simple compared to your technology, but we have hearts, minds, and determination. And when we care about someone, we do everything we can to protect them." Lyra leaned closer. "Then let us protect each other. And our worlds. Together." Their partnership became a symbol across Zytheria. Nobles began to reconsider prejudices. Young leaders were inspired by Ethan's courage, and citizens saw that humans could be allies, friends, and even partners. Kyle, now humbled and removed from power, watched silently from his private quarters. He realized that no amount of scheming could replace the qualities that Ethan had demonstrated. Courage, honesty, ingenuity, and respect were forces far greater than manipulation or fear. Weeks later, a grand ceremony celebrated the alliance between Earth's human colonies and Zytheria. The palace gardens bloomed with light and color, and citizens from both worlds mingled, exchanging knowledge, culture, and technology. Ethan and Lyra stood at the center, their hands clasped, smiling at the crowd. The High Chancellor spoke once more. "Let this day mark a new era. Let humans and Zytherians learn from each other, grow together, and face the universe with courage, creativity, and unity. Let it be known that no tradition or prejudice can stand against the strength of heart, mind, and will." Ethan and Lyra exchanged a glance, both feeling the weight and promise of their journey. They had faced danger, judgment, and prejudice, and they had prevailed. Together, they had shown that humans were not just simple creatures from a distant world, but beings capable of shaping destinies, bridging worlds, and inspiring change. As the sun set, casting golden and violet light across the palace towers, Ethan whispered, "We did it, Lyra. We changed more than just the court. We changed minds, and maybe even the future." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with pride and hope. "Yes, and together. And now we face tomorrow as equals, humans and Zytherians, side by side." The crowd cheered, but Ethan and Lyra looked beyond the audience. They saw the stars, distant worlds waiting to be explored, mysteries to be solved, and challenges yet to come. They knew that with courage, ingenuity, and trust in each other, they could meet anything the universe presented. And in that moment, it was clear humans, with their creativity, empathy, and determination, had earned a place among the stars, not as outsiders, not as weak beings, but as equals, partners, and pioneers. Lyra squeezed Ethan's hand. "This is only the beginning," Ethan nodded. "And with you, I am ready for whatever comes next." Together, they turned to face the horizon, where floating cities met starlit skies and the future stretched endlessly before them. Two worlds united by courage, trust, and the human spirit, ready to explore, protect, and create a new era among the stars. The story of a human and a disabled alien princess became a legend, not because of royalty or titles, but because of courage, heart, and the power of humanity to inspire change. And so, Ethan and Lyra's journey concluded not with an ending, but with a new beginning. A beginning that would shape the fates of both Cytherea and the human colonies for generations to come.